Welcome back to the Devils podcast, brought to you by talkingdevils.co.uk. I'm your host, Keane Franey, and I'm joined today by Phil Marsh and Lee Lawrence, former Manchester United players. We are here to talk all things Manchester United. We're going to talk Villarreal during the week. We're going to talk Everton this weekend. Also going to talk about the imminent return of Marcus Rashford, and also talk about Donny Van De Beek as well as other Manchester United related topics. So make sure, guys, do smash the like in the video, hit that subscribe button, and also, as always, drop a comment below and let us know what you think about tonight's show. So first of all, guys, I suppose this week has been a hectic week for Manchester United Football Club. Obviously, we're on the back of a defeat in the Premier League. Last week, 1-0 defeat against Aston Villa. Shock defeat at home, 1-0. This week, then we had to bounce back against Villarreal in the Champions League. My opinion before the game was like, if there's any better game to redeem yourselves after a Premier League defeat, would be Villarreal, because it was last season's Europa League final. We were defeated at that time. Phil, I'll just come to you first. Very dramatic game this week in the Champions League against Villarreal. Great atmosphere in Old Trafford. You know, it was great to see a full Old Trafford in a Champions League night. We haven't got that in quite some time at Old Trafford. What are your overall thoughts on our performance in the 2-1 win and kind of how the game panned out in itself?
It was, mate. It was a great game on paper for obviously a good reaction, positive reaction. Obviously, looking at the first half performance, my thoughts on that was that we was really, really poor, and I think obviously Villarreal were far the better team. Probably should have on the sort of general play could have gone in 2-0 if it weren't for David De Gea, who pulled off some world class saves. Obviously, good to see him back playing to sort of his best. I think he's been a fantastic sort of player for us this season, consistency. But yeah, I think the first half Villarreal caused loads of problems. I think the kid on the left side, is it Benjuma or something? I think he was very, very good. He was a real threat. Caused Dalot all kinds of problems down that left hand side. And yeah, I just think we was well off the pace. I think there was, first to the ball, won all the second balls. We were sort of struggling to create any real clear-cut chances. And then, yeah, second half, I think obviously it picked up a little bit. I think there was a lot more sort of urgency, especially after they scored the goal. We seemed to sort of, come into the game a little bit more, if you like, and started to create, obviously, a couple of chances. And obviously Tellez's finish was a fantastic finish. Obviously a really difficult skilled ball dropping out the air. And yeah, it was a great way to get back into the game. And I think obviously all these substitutions that he made sort of later on in the game had a really good impact. Cavani and Lingard coming on made the difference for me. I think obviously, there's a lot of footage of Cavani, closing down the defender that kept the ball into play, which led to the last goal, which is, as a centre forward, that's what you want from your centre forward, to, be pressing from the front, leading by example. And I think that was a fantastic bit of sort of unselfish play from him. And obviously Jesse getting that little touch on the ball that didn't look sort of, like it'd be a significant sort of touch, but that inevitably got the goal for Cristiano to win the game in the last minute. And yeah, I think overall it was probably a bit of a disservice to Villarreal. I think they was probably good for at least a point, but it's typical Manchester United to sort of score a goal late on in obviously what used to be known as Fergie time. And it was great to see. So yeah, just obviously made up with the result, but obviously still lots that we can improve on and work on for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think from my perspective, I think looking at the game itself, like for me, I think a lot of us were clamoring for that kind of McTominay Pogba midfield as a midfield too, because offensively, people, myself included, would think it's probably our strongest midfield too. I found that when we went with the 4-3-3, when you seen kind of Pogba and Bruno were both playing higher, McTominay was a bit exposed in the middle of the park, especially in that first half when Villarreal had a good few chances. I thought, we could have got a hide in that first half, but luckily, I said, Phil, like, David De Gea showed the form of 2018, didn't he? Like, it was like reliving that season when nothing could go past him when he won the Golden Glove. He was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I think Villarreal, like, look, if you look at the scoreline, probably done him a disservice because they did play very well. And like offensively and defensively too, they defended quite well in the game. Their back four stayed quite solid. They defended narrow. They didn't give us much chances. And look, I was concerned going into half time, thinking like, look, we haven't got out of the blocks, and I thought it was going to be kind of a similar result to Villa. But fair play to Ollie. I think if you look at the substitutions in hindsight, like Matic came on, got us control of the ball in midfield. You had Jesse Lingard's movement in the box, which look, I think always causes teams problems. And like people were like going mad, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, the substitution of Fred. People thought Van De Beek should have came on. Fred came on as a left back and puts in a very good cross, for the goal. So like I think when you look at it from that perspective, his substitutions worked, in management did work at the time, and look, we got the 3 points, and I think that's the most important thing. And like when you look at a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, like I had the commentary on the Irish station here, and they're saying take Ronaldo off. They kept saying take Ronaldo off, and I turned around, like me and my girlfriend were watching the game at the time, and I said, why would they take him off? Especially like it was ignorance probably from the Irish side as well, because we watched Ireland play Portugal a few weeks ago, and Ronaldo done nothing in the game, but in the last minute of the game, he scored 2 goals. So obviously, like when you have a player like Ronaldo, he always delivers in the biggest moments, and that's why he's the greatest of all time. And we've seen it again. Great touch by Lingard and to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo being in the right place at the right time and scoring the winning goal. And you rightly touched on as well, Phil, like Alex Telles, that goal is like something off the training ground. Like you've seen Telles and Bruno communicating with each other before the free kick was taken, and it was a brilliant finish. And look, I think when you look at it, it's a snatch and grab by United by all accounts. If you look at like the whole course of 90 minutes, it's a snatch and grab. But at the end of the day, we show character to win that game, to persevere and win that game. I think that's the most important thing. And it lets us kick on now to Saturday, because obviously this game against Everton, massive game in the Premier League, and when you consider last weekend's results, we kind of got away with it, the fact that some of our rivals dropped points. So happy with the result, not happy probably with the full overall performance of 90 minutes, but the team show character. I think that's massively important, especially if you want to move on and pick up results further on the road. Lee, what were your overall thoughts about the game? Obviously, 2 of our first team fullbacks, Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, both out. It was a chance for Dalot and kind of Telles to prove their worth. Telles got the goal. Were you concerned about Dalot's performance, considering Wan-Bissaka for the next 2 games?
Yeah, first of all, good evening, guys. To be honest, first of all, thank God for David De Gea. That first half, we should have been blown away, in my opinion. After the match, I was distraught, to be honest. I didn't know. I've been calling for him to change formation quite a while now. When I seen the team, I thought, yeah, attacking, it's what we've all been wanting. It's looking much more of a stronger attacking side instead of a defensive back 6, if you will, what he's been playing. It didn't, for me, didn't work out, didn't pan out really. To say we had a much more attacking threat going forward, I think we had 1 shot on target, Pogba, in the first 45 minutes. It needed to be stepped up. To be honest, I've watched the game back again today because, like I say, I think I was too emotionally involved with it to give me opinion properly without watching it back. So I've actually watched the game back today. Few points I picked up. We actually started well, which I actually forgot about. Yeah. The first 10 minutes we started really well. I think they had one chance in the first 10, but we dominated. To be honest, in my opinion, the overall problem, like Phil mentioned, come from, was it Danzuma, is his name? Dalot had a torrid against him, absolute torrid. I mean, it happens. You get a tricky fast winger sometimes. It's fullbacks can struggle against them. But when I've watched it back today, the majority of chances created was from that guy, and it was him absolutely ripping Dalot a new one, to be honest with you. So I weren't overly impressed with Dalot. I've been thought he might have, once he's got his chance, he might have took it. In my opinion, he's not. I'd still have Wan-Bissaka in there above him. Telles, fantastic goal, took it absolutely brilliantly. I don't think he had a bad game. Again, I would much rather have Luke Shaw in that position. I don't think it's a bad backup for that position, but I think if we're going fullback for fullback all day, I'd have Luke Shaw in there at the moment.
Yeah, I think when you look at the full-back situation, I think Luke Shaw has that left-back place locked down. I think right-back was more of a debate. Like if you looked at Wan-Bissaka and Dalot, obviously the one criticism people have for Wan-Bissaka's game is his end product. But Wan-Bissaka defensively, he's rock solid. And I think we compensate with that because obviously with the attacking players we have, Wan-Bissaka doesn't have to be, doing more offensive. But I would be concerned if Wan-Bissaka picked up an injury, to be brutally honest about it, because you looked at that performance, like Dan Zuma done that to Diogo Dalot. Imagine in these next couple of weeks when we're playing Liverpool and Manchester City, Chelsea, these teams, you're going to be coming up against Havertz, you're going to be coming up against Sadio Mane on that side, you're going to be coming up against all these different kind of the wing players. Dalot needs to be, to be more defensively astute. But hopefully that's something we can learn on. Obviously, look, we've a new defensive coach in there, set piece coach in Eric Ramsey. Kieran McKenna's there. They're good in that regard and help organise. Let's hope he can kind of, sharpen up in that part of the game, because going forward, I think Dalot is a good outlet. He does put a lot of crosses into the box. He's not afraid to bomb on. So hopefully, he can get better in that regard. But I still think Wan-Bissaka is probably, definitely at this moment in time, the first choice right back. But look, again, competition for places is always a great thing. And look, we've seen what Hotella's done to Luke Shaw last year, really kicked him on a gear. And hopefully, look, Dalot and Wan-Bissaka can push each other, and hopefully one of them can kind of beat that, can cement themselves as that kind of best fullback in the league. I'm just going to come to a couple of comments before we go on to the next topic. We have Reese here in the comments. Reese says, I'm just going to get it up here. Good to see you guys again. Have a great show. Quick question for me. Do you think our system is lacking any initiative to be more intense when attacking teams, or do you think we just play conserved? Phil, I'll bring that to you first.
Yeah, as I say, I think it was a little bit, as Lee touched on there, we changed that formation to be a little bit more attacking. And I just don't think for whatever reason in that first half that it worked. It didn't really click. Whether that's, individual players maybe not having a good day, not quite fully hitting the heights that they thought they might hit, the likes of Sancho, etc. But no, I think it's going to be a difficult one, really. We're trying to find the right balance in the squad at the moment with, whether to be, a bit more defensive, because obviously Villarreal cut us open quite a few times there in that first half, which was quite concerning. But then on the flip side of that, you obviously want to be creating chances and, putting balls in the box and trying to feed them, players that can get you the goals like Cristiano and Greenwood. And it's a bit of a difficult one at the moment. I think it's obviously something that Ollie's going to sort of have to keep sort of tweaking and flipping between until he finds sort of that, formation or that starting 11 that he's happy with and that has that consistent sort of level of what we're expecting from Man United.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when that kind of, when I seen us link up into a 4-3-3, like from kickoff, and that, especially in the first 10 minutes, thought, yeah, this is great. Pogba's more advanced left side of the three. Bruno's in that more advanced position. And I thought McTominay right there would be grand. But I think that game kind of showed probably why Ollie sticks to the two holding midfielders, because I don't think we have the personnel in terms of like that holding midfield player to allow Pogba and Bruno to really step forward and really kind of do a push up high. Like McTominay's good, but he's not like, an out-and-out defensive midfield player. Like, he's more of a box-to-box. He likes getting into the box himself. Phil, we discussed this like in pre-season when we talked about McTominay. We were like, we would like to see him higher up the pitch, because last year he proved when he was getting into the box, he was a good goal threat to his best goal scoring season. Like, I think when you look at this moment in time, the Nemanja Matic is probably still our best number 6, but it's just the case, does he have the legs anymore to play 2 games in a week, at his age? I think that's the biggest question I think everyone asks. But I think when you look at the teams that sit back, I think Matic is probably our best option for retaining possession, linking up the play and allowing Pogba and Bruno to get forward, because you see when Matic came on against West Ham and in this game against Villarreal, he settles things down. He keeps things ticking. I think that's one thing where McTominay probably lacks in his game. Like McTominay's great tenacity. He's great at winning back the ball, great at covering space, but one thing he lacks is that kind of that kind of line breaking pass, kind of similar to what a Carrick would do, back when he was in the holding midfield player, and similar to what Matic does now. I think that's where the kind of line is drawn to in terms of that number 6 position. But I think if we do get that defensive midfield player in, we can definitely play that 4-3-3 more consistently, and we can play it, with more balance. We can sustain attacks, and then we can see that really coming off. But again, I think in the bigger games at the moment, we'll probably still see 4-2-3-1. We'll see, the kind of to make sure that the formation we're more defensively solid. So I can see Ollie tailoring to our opposition, but I think long term, if we're going to play that 4-3-3 formation with that specific system, you're going to have the right personnel in place before you can fully do it. Because as we've seen against Villarreal, as we've seen last season when we did play it against Spurs at Old Trafford, we can get caught in the counter. So I think we have to be mindful of that. Lee, what's your thoughts on Reece's comment here with regards to that?
Yeah, more or less the same as you guys, really. Look, after the game against Villarreal, I was literally left scratching my head at one point. I thought, like I said to you earlier on, I've been calling for this formation to change. I was getting a bit fed up with Fred and McTominay and it being so defensive. I wanted to see the football we used to play, attacking football. And when I seen the team line out, I thought, there we go. He's had a rejig. This is going to work. It got to our full time, and I thought, this is probably the reason why he's going with a defensive back 6. You know what I mean? He's playing them 2 holding midfield players. Obviously, Ollie's seen it out on the training field day in, day out. He knows what his best starting 11 is with the players he's got. His coaches will be telling him that. So I really do think it's the reason why Ollie's probably playing Fred and McTominay as much as he has. Fred and McTominay aren't the answer. Definitely not. Like I say, I do like McTominay. I think he's a good player. I do think Fred's a good player, to be honest, on his day. I think sometimes he gets made a bit of a scapegoat for the whole team. I don't think he's a bad player whatsoever. I just think that we're lacking that number 6, what we need, a world-class number 6, which it's plainly obvious to most supporters who watch Man United. That is, we've got good players there, but we haven't got a world-class player there. Like I say, when we do get a world-class player there, that will help the likes of Bruno and Greenwood, obviously Rashford when he comes in, to express themselves more going forward. So yeah, that's my take on it.
And like when you think about, I was going to bring up Reece's comment here, just with regards to on kind of the back of what we're saying here. Reece says here, do you think Ollie should consider playing a 4-1-4-1 as he insists on a midfield 4 behind the striker or play a diamond? I think, what would you think about that? Do you think maybe he should play maybe that one sitter and then maybe 2 midfielders alongside him to kind of be more defensively solid?
Like I said, I'm at the moment I'm scratching maybe what he should play with what I'm watching this season. I thought it might to come a bit more obvious after these, good few games in. What would be his more than likely his formation is a consistent starting 11. That's not happened at the moment, has it? We don't know what formation he's going to play. We don't know what his strongest 11 is at the moment. I don't think Ollie knows what his strongest 11 is at the moment. And I think until the team starts gelling, we're not going to know what formation is going to be the best. And that's down to Ollie to find out, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think when you look at this stage, we need to find out quickly, because we're coming into this run of games now where I believe this could define our season. When you look at, this run of fixtures, we're playing like Everton, Leicester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, then Arsenal later on in November. Like, this is going to define our season. And this is where I think, we do need to pick up as much results as we can, but we need to gel. Because some of these new players, the Varanes, Ronaldo, Sancho, Ronaldo, to be fair to him, he's just the machine. Regardless of what system he plays, he's picking up goals. Do you know what I mean? We can rely on him. Sancho and Varane, I think they're both starting to adjust. Varane probably quicker than Sancho, but Sancho's had it rough with injuries, COVID, those stuff like that, so it'll take time. But if we can get the right person in the right positions, I think we can definitely prosper and definitely do a challenge at the top, because that's what we need. But when you look at this team, there's no excuse for us not to be in the top 2, top 3 in the league and be there and thereabouts all season, because we've been making steady progress the last couple of years. That has to continue when you have the players the summer that you've had. that really does have to continue. Just kind of touching on, on the kind of the game itself and kind of coming off the back of that. Obviously, Mason Greenwood in the last kind of couple of games he's been a very kind of bright player for United. He's played quite well. Mason's been left out of the England squad again. When you look at kind of the injuries and stuff like that happening in England, Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa got picked ahead of him. Considering Mason Greenwood's one of the most informed forwards in English football at the moment, considering his goal scoring record since the start of the season, Phil, are you shocked that Mason's been let out of Gareth Southgate's squad again? And do you think, as Manchester United Football Club, do we benefit from that? Or are you kind of looking at it from the player side of Mason and kind of thinking he's missing out on that valuable experience for England?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I think, obviously, with the performances and sort of the way he started the season, he should really be in that England squad. I don't think there'd be anyone out there who would begrudge him that place in the England team. However, for me, I think, at the age he is now, I think he's got obviously a lot of years ahead of him, and he will definitely get into that England squad, sooner rather than later, in my opinion. But I think it'll only benefit him, obviously, being at the club, being able to train, being able to sort of keep working with the players that he's going to be playing with week in, week out at Manchester United. And obviously, for me, there's no questioning his ability. He should definitely be involved in this current England squad. But if I was him, I wouldn't be too sort of downhearted about that, not being involved just yet. Obviously, he's well aware of how much progress that he has made in such a short amount of time. And for me, I think, if he keeps doing what he's been doing, then yeah, there's no reason why he won't get into the squad, as I say, in the next maybe couple of months.
Yeah, I look at it like, even though like I'm not an England supporter, obviously being Irish, but like looking at England squad and I look at the forwards they have, I looked at Euros. They could have done with a forward like Mason Greenwood. I know England got to the final, but there was games where they did struggle to get goals. Like there's games that Harry Kane wasn't producing. Like if you look at all the strikers in England right now, I know Calvert-Lewin was in the squad as well, but like a striker like Mason Greenwood, they don't have that dynamic forward where he can shoot with his left, shoot with his right, though he can kind of instinctively finish the ball. Like he's probably, apart from Kane, probably the most natural finisher, out of all England's forward options. Calvert-Lewin's a great hold-up player, great header of the ball, and he's kind of a more kind of target man, whereas Greenwood's more that finisher, that sharpshooter, and I think England could definitely benefit from that, especially in the games where, even against Poland a couple of weeks ago, where they drew. Like, you have a Mason Greenwood on the pitch and you want to go kill the game. There's no doubt you give him a chance, he will score more often than not. So maybe obviously from a Man United point of view, selfishly, I'm like, lovely. He's staying there, training for 2 weeks. He's going to be playing Rashford's games behind closed doors during the international break. Happy days. That's great. But look, I think for his career, his legacy, sooner he gets into that England squad, the better. And he can definitely, score plenty of goals and just add to that kind of potential that all of us think he has. Lee, are you happy to see him kind of continue his development at United so far, or do you think maybe he deserves to be in that England squad at the moment?
Yeah, to be honest, I feel for the lad. Personally, I do feel like he deserves to be in that squad. Obviously, his confidence might take a little bit of a hit not being in that squad. Like you said, Keane, as a Man United supporter, it's for me, it only benefits Man United. Even if, obviously, I'm hoping and I'm sure he does have the right attitude that, he'll go back to the drawing board now. He'll probably kick on and try his best to show Gareth Southgate that he should have picked him. Again, that's only a good thing for the club. I'd have loved to have seen him in there. I think he warrants the place. I think he's definitely good enough to get into that squad. I think if you take his last couple of seasons overall, he, like say, in the Premier League, he is one of the best natural finishers there is. Apart from, like say, Harry Kane, he's probably the most natural finisher at the club at the moment. I'm disappointed for him that he's not in the squad. But as a Man United supporter, I'm not overly all disappointed that he's not in, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I seen that when the squad's got announced here yesterday, I seen Ollie Watkins. Right, my initial thought was like, Christ above, Greenwood's not in the squad. Hell. Then I'm like, right, lovely. Look at that running after the international break. We're going to have him there fully fit and firing, please God. So, yeah, look, for him, I'm sad for him because like he deserves to be in it. Man United cap on. I'm like, yeah, look, happy days. Greenwood's there. Leave him for the running. And look, I'll say in the World Cup he'll be in the squad. There's no way Gareth Southgate's not going to bring him to the World Cup in 2022. Not a chance. I'm so confident he will get into that squad, 100%. We touched on Greenwood. Obviously, today is actually his birthday, and today Greenwood shares birthday with Manchester United legend Duncan Edwards. Duncan Edwards' birthday today as well. Obviously, Duncan Edwards, huge legend of Manchester United, and was tragically lost life in the Munich air disaster in 1958. Obviously, a legend of the football club. Phil, in terms of being a former player for the football club and being a Manchester United fan, what does Duncan Edwards mean to you as kind of someone associated with Manchester United?
Yeah, obviously Duncan Edwards is as you just touched on there, he's a massive part of the club. He's a a legend. He's someone who, as a youngster, as you come through the ranks, obviously Lee'll probably back me up on this. You get drilled with all the history of the club, all these famous players, and what they went through, and he's such a sort of iconic figure. Not just him, obviously the rest of the players as well, but. Yeah, he's obviously somebody who is sort of held in really high regard at the club, and not just because of obviously what he was like as a player, but obviously because of the tragic circumstances that the Busby Babes obviously all lost their lives, and that's something that fuels the fire for the club, and I think obviously you want to do well every single year to represent Manchester United. It's a massive honour. And all these former players that have been there and done it, and they sort of started off the legacy, if you like, for what these sort of new and sort of current players now are sort of reaping the rewards for.
And Lee, just come to yourself on that as well. Both of you have obviously come through the cliff. You've both been in the Manchester United Academy. You've both come through the club. What does Duncan Edwards mean to you as someone associated with Man United?
Like you said, Phil's hit the nail on the head there. Both of us grown up with the club. It gets drilled into the history of the club. Obviously, it's not just Duncan Edwards, but the rest of the Busby Babes what lost their life. We know all about it. We get taught it from a young age. And I think that's what United's done for a long time, especially with the academy players. We get to know the rich history of the club. When we play for the badge, we play for the team. And I'll be honest, in the last 5 or 6 years, I think the team's kind of lost that identity a little. I think we touched on it. I don't know if it was over Twitter, me, Phil, and Wayne, or in one of our groups about bringing, not old players, but ex-players back from obviously my generation and Phil's generation. The likes of Darren Fletcher, Paul McShane's come back now. These guys are the same as us. It's been drilled into us. We're United through and through. We know the history. And I think, looking at it, I think Ollie's trying to bring players back what will, pass that knowledge on and pass what it means to play for the club now to these new guys which are coming in. Hopefully install some of the traditions that was there when we were there. Like I say, we've got Woody now, who's, the under-23s manager. We've got quite a few ex-players there who understand the club, who know the club, and who love the club through and through. And I think it can only benefit these stars what don't know much about the club coming through. And hopefully we can get that team bonding back, which I feel is still missing. I think it's been missing. Yeah, we've got the individuals there now. You can see we've got all this potential within the squad, but I feel like we need to knit as a team. And I feel like by bringing some extra players back, that may happen. That may rub off on the new players what come in, and hopefully we can get that team mentality back.
Definitely. I think when you look at kind of the former players coming back, I think the ethos of Manchester United is very important. Getting that drilled in, whether you're coming through as an academy player or you've come to the football club from a different football club as a big money signing. You need to know what it means to play for this great football club, and you need to know what it means to put on that shirt and represent that badge. Because I think post Sir Alex, I think a lot of people have come to the football club for the wage and not for like the club and the history. And I think bringing these people back now, you mentioned Paul McShane, obviously Ollie's at the football club, Neil Wood, the under-23 manager. The list goes on. Darren Fletcher and Michael Carrick. These people who all had their success at this football club, and all these people have come through the football club and know what it means. I think the togetherness is most definitely there in terms of the squad. I think if you look at this current first team squad right now, post Sir Alex is probably the most together that it's been. Now, obviously, we don't have the trophies to kind of to show for that in terms of success, but it's the most likable Man United team. And you can see they fight for the result, they fight for the manager. Because if you look at the amount of times we come back in games, I think that shows character, it shows resolve, and it shows Manchester United. But I know what you mean in terms of that ethos and that kind of the Manchester United way, that needs to always be there. I think having people there who know the DNA of the football club is massively important, in terms of progressing forward. But look, we do have a very strong academy at the moment. You mentioned Neil Wood doing a great job there at the under-23s. Justin Cochrane's been brought in as a coach as well, very highly thought of through the FA. He's doing a very good job helping that link between the youth and the first team. And you're looking at the players who are coming through now. You look like Hannibal, Shola Shortiri, Charlie McNeil, Joe Hugel. Obviously, in the last couple of years, we've had Mason come through, we've had Marcus come through, Scott McTominay come through, Brandon Williams. Like, we've had players come through the academy. Since Ollie's come in this couple of year time frame, we're starting to see that natural progression that we didn't see under Van Halen, Mourinho, and David Moyes. We're now seeing that natural progression again. I think by bringing them coaches in who know what it's like to give you a chance and being that youth player who came into the first team, that definitely will help us progress, and that Man United way will continue. I think we're starting to see that again, slowly but surely. But let's hope we get that success with that, and then hopefully, we do go on that kind of great period of success, and we kind of go back to being where we are, which is where we're supposed to be, is the top of English football. I think that's where we deserve to be, and I think that's where we need to be as a football club. We just mentioned, another player who came through the academy and who was someone who has been a great player progressing in the last kind of 5-6 years is Marcus Rashford. He got a surgery in the summer, and now finally he's going to be fully fit after spending 2 years, more or less through injury, playing for United. Phil, I'm just going to come to you first on Marcus. You look at Marcus now, obviously, injury-free first time in 2 years. You look at his goals and assists in the last 2 years through injury, has been quite impressive. What do you think a fully fit Marcus Rashford is going to be like in this Manchester United team, considering the addition of Ronaldo and Sancho on the team?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to obviously seeing him back. I think he's a fantastic player. He's obviously been a little bit frustrating at times. I mean, with the potential and the levels that he has shown. On the flip side of that, he has had a couple of games where he's been disappointing, or his end products not been what it maybe could have been. But I think after getting this surgery and him coming back, I've seen obviously pictures of him looking really lean, and he's obviously been doing a lot of work in the gym. And I think he's going to come back with the bit between his teeth, wanting to prove a point. For me, there's that position that Sancho's not really nailed down at the moment due to his sort of inconsistent form, and I think he could definitely sort of come in and add something that's maybe missing a little bit at the top end of the pitch. I mean, we've been playing okay, and we have been scoring quite a few goals, but I still think that we're not fully firing on all cylinders, and I think a fully fit Marcus Rashford coming back with a point to prove, is an exciting prospect. And obviously with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and players of his ilk, who's going to be sort of linking up with it, it's obviously something that I think United fans should be excited about and looking forward to seeing. Yeah,
definitely. And I think if you just look at his return last season, when you look at his goals and assists, he had the back injury, shoulder injury, and ankle injury all at the same time. He was nursing all them injuries, and he got a return of 20 goals and 16 assists last season in all competitions. That's impressive for a player. In terms of production, for someone who's carrying that many injuries, that's impressive. That's unbelievable. So Marcus Rashford coming into this team, I think, benefits us. So because I think one thing we are missing, I noticed last week at the game against Villa, was runners off the ball. Players to run off Cristiano. A lot of the players are more coming to the ball, whereas Rashford can be more direct and he can kind of run past players. And I think Rashford coming back into this side can help add an extra dimension to the team, especially on that left-hand side. So he can definitely help us, get more goals, give us that extra dimension, and give us other teams, something else to think about. So I think him coming back is scary for us to see how good he's going to be, considering the injuries he's carried and the level of production he's had. But also, I think when you look at him at this moment in time, for our rivals, it's a scary thought, because now you don't just have Ronaldo to worry about. You don't have Greenwood, you don't have Sancho, you have fully fit Marcus Rashford coming at you, and considering his goal scoring record and his quality, he's someone who's going to be a massive threat and a massive asset, especially with the period he's coming back. He's going to come back for the Leicester game. Because I think you look at Rashford's record against Leicester, very good goal scoring record against them. No better way to come back against a Rodgers team who do play open football, high line. Great game for him to come back into, and hopefully start that kind of new run of games, run of goals, and hopefully help us to win games of football, because that's ultimately what we need. Lee, can you hear me? Are you back? He's froze on my screen. Can you hear me, Lee? I think he's gone. It's just froze on my screen. Can you hear me, Lee? Let's try bring him back in. I'd say, Lee, jump out and jump back in, I'd say. It's just it's freezing on the screen there. And we'll bring Lee back into the show there just in a moment. Just moving on to kind of, we come back to Lee in terms of his opinion on Marcus Rashford's return. Donny Van De Beek, Phil, has been a player who's divided opinion in kind of the time he's just over the year he's been at the football club. And obviously there's a lot of talk on social media amongst Manchester United fans, amongst just the media themselves, and Donny's also been on interviews in the kind of last couple of weeks. Obviously, we've seen footage this week of when Fred and Jesse Lingard were coming on against Villarreal. We did see, that he wasn't happy with the fact he wasn't getting a game, that though Fred and Jesse were getting time ahead of him, and he looked very frustrated. Obviously, at the moment, in my opinion, Bruno Fernandes, number 10, obviously is Bruno's best position, Donny's best position. Donny's not going to get in ahead of Bruno at the moment, which is quite understandable considering Bruno's form. Saying Donny can play number 6, a holding midfielder, I haven't seen any evidence to kind of prove that. Where do you sit on the Donny Van De Beek situation? Because a lot of people think he's been unfairly treated, but if I look at it, honestly, in my opinion, I see him as number 10/8. And if we're thinking about playing Pogba in midfield and Bruno in midfield, like as central midfield, attacking midfield players, it's kind of, when you look at this situation, does Donny Van De Beek fit into this Manchester United starting 11? And do you think, does his future lie elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, just touching on the video, and obviously people, posting the video of him being upset on sort of the other night against Villarreal. I mean, I'd be more disappointed if he wasn't upset about not coming on. I think that's a good trait to have. Obviously, for him, he's probably feeling as though, what's he got to do to sort of get a run of games in the team. But yeah, I think obviously what you just said in terms of his best position, probably in the position that Bruno's playing. And as you say, he's not going to get in ahead of him anytime soon. For me, I mean, obviously, Ollie probably could play him in one of the other positions, but is that his best position, and is he playing him there just for the sake of playing him? I think, for me, he's not obviously been, Ollie's flavour of the month for quite a while now. And potentially, a move away might benefit him, because I think the one thing as a footballer, you need that run of games in order to get yourself fully up to speed and get your consistency. I think for him, being dropped in for a game here and there, and coming on for 5-10 minutes and playing a game in the cup, every couple of weeks isn't going to be a fair reflection and a true sort of representation of what he can offer to the team. Any football will tell you, you need to be playing regular and you need to be playing consistently in order to, find your feet and be performing at the top level. So I do feel sorry for him in that respect, but again, I think he's maybe not done quite enough to sort of nail that, chance down, that Ollie has to pick him and give him that run of games. So yeah, feel a little bit sorry for him in that respect, that he's not really had that chance to sort of establish a place in the team. But yeah, if we're being brutally honest, I don't think he's going to sort of, get into that position ahead of Bruno anytime soon. So it may, be in his best interest to maybe go somewhere else where he can, get that regular game time, and then, he may come back then with a new lease of life, and that may then, give him the opportunity to come in and play some games.
I think I look at the Donny situation. The only other, I wouldn't even go permanently, because I think with Paul Pogba next summer, he still could leave the football club. And then the fact we'd have to replace two of them, I think, for me, will be difficult to do. For me, I'd be looking at doing with Donny in January, maybe what we've done with Jesse, in terms of loaning them out for 6 months, let him get game time, let him get full match sharpness, and then evaluate next summer whether Paul is staying or not. Because if Paul is staying, then that frees up that midfield position where Donny can play there. And then you can get that whole midfield player, and there's your balance with that whole midfield player, Donny and Bruno. I think then you have that balance. But right now, if you're talking about playing Pogba in midfield with a Matic, let's say, and Bruno Fernandes, Donny Van De Beek is not going to start. And I think that's where people need to be realistic about that. He's not a better football player than Bruno Fernandes. That's abundantly clear when you look at Bruno Fernandes' return. He's a goal machine. He's an assist machine. And you look at Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba in this last 12 months has produced his best form for Man United. Donny Van De Beek has been an unfortunate victim of circumstance, I think, if you look at the last 12 months. Considering the form of Pogba and Bruno in terms of their goals and assist rates, Donny's just been a very a victim of circumstance. And I think, yes, he there is a good footballer in there, no doubt. He showed it with Ajax, though, in the Dutch league. He showed it in the Champions League campaign, where Ajax when they did get to the semi-final. But again, when there's better midfield players in them two positions, like the number 8 and the number 10 role, it's hard for him to get the team. And then people are talking about playing him as a number 6. He played there a handful of times for Ajax, and in no disrespect, in a less competitive league than the Premiership. The Premiership is the highest league in the world. You can't be shoehorning players into positions into that number 6 role, especially when you want to play a high expansive game. You can't be shoehorning players. So, look, I think with Donny, maybe loan him out in January. I think maybe loan him out 2 who are actually looking for him, our opponents on the weekend. 2 in Everton, 2 at West Ham, someone like that who he'll play at a very good level. He can prove himself in the Premier League, and then assess it next summer. And then they'll even go if he needs to go if Pogba stays, or if Pogba leaves, Donny can slot into that role when a new defensive midfield player, does come in. Lee, what's your overall thoughts on the Donny Van De Beek situation? The social media seems to be going rampant with Donny Van De Beek every day. Ollie's getting slaughtered because of it, which, look, I think it's unfair that he's getting slaughtered for it. I think there's just better players in his position. What's your overall take on the Van De Beek situation at the club at the moment?
Yeah. To be honest, I've been debating this with a few friends today, actually, the Donny situation. Like I say, Ollie's getting a hell of a lot of slack for it at the moment. Personally, I think we mentioned this on one of the first podcasts I did. There's obviously the guys who were there, the background staff, the managers, the trainers who's watching him day in, day out. There's a reason why the guy's not being picked. I don't think it's his attitude, because what I've seen of him so far, it looks like he's got a good footballing attitude. I can just, the other thing I can imagine is, they're seeing him in training, and like you just said, unfortunately, the circumstances he finds himself in, he's got some world-class players who are ahead of him at the moment. That's not saying he's a bad player whatsoever. I think he's a good player. I actually said against West Ham, the second game, there was only 2 players for me what could hold the head up high. But Donny Van De Beek was one of them, and Jesse Lingard. I thought they were the 2 players what stood out in that second game. See, what I find difficult is people are saying that, he needs a run in the team, to establish himself, which I agree with. Unfortunately, Sancho seems to be getting that run in the team. For me, Sancho's not done massively well since he's come to the club. I think we said it on the show, the first show that we did together. I was concerned buying Sancho, whether it was the right slot for us or not, with us already having Greenwood and Rashford, etc. Could it have been spent elsewhere than money on a defensive midfield player? But Sancho's been given his chance. Donny hasn't been given his chance, really. But if he does get given his chance, like I say, he's not gonna take Pogba's place, or he's not gonna take Bruno's place anytime soon. I watched a compilation on YouTube today about Donny Van De Beek. I didn't see much about him at Ajax, so I wanted to see what made us bring him to the club. So I've been watching videos of him, and again, like you just said, he doesn't seem like a defensive midfield player. All his highlights are up top, creating goals, scoring goals. Yeah, it's not in the Premier League. I understand that, but that's where he looks like his main threat and his main position is, not to be shoehorned, like you put it, into a position where he doesn't play there, And I think every debate we have on this programme, it always comes down to, we're in need of a good number 6, and at the moment we've just not got one.
Yeah, and that's ultimately why he doesn't play. Because if you look at last season when Pogba was playing off the left, we didn't have Raphael Varane, a centre-back last season, to play a 4-3-3. We had to play Fred and McTominay to kind of protect our back four last season. That was the reality. Now this year, he seems to be taking kind of the shackles off in that regard, where he's playing one of Fred and McTominay with a Paul Pogba in midfield. So Donny's not number 6. He's in 10 or at a stretch he's in a box to box in a number 8 role. He's not that number sitting midfield player. He's not that number 6, that defensive minded player. Like, that would be, you'd be asking for trouble if you play a midfield 3 of him, Bruno and Pogba. I think when you look at that, that's a FIFA formation. Like, if people really want to see that, pick up your PlayStation controller or your Xbox and go on FIFA, make that as your midfield 3. Like, that's literally it.
We just get cut apart. If that was the midfield 3 was playing, we'd just get counter attacked all day long. They just play through the midfield, basically like the first half of Villarreal, in my opinion. That's what most games would end up being like if we played them as a flat 3.
Yeah, 100%, because you wouldn't have anyone with the defensive discipline to sit there and, essentially you'd get cut apart. You might win games 4-3, but at the end of the day, it'd come back to bite you because you had no defensively discipline there to sit in that role. So I think Donny will get his chance, but probably will be when Pogba leaves next summer. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think he'll probably bought as Pogba's replacement, but global pandemic hits and no clubs could afford him. That's the reality of the situation. Now Pogba, we don't know if he's going to stay or if he's going to go. I think we may see more movement on Paul Pogba come December, January, because he has that 6-month period where the overseas clubs can negotiate with Paul Pogba openly. I think that's when you'll see whether A, Donny gets loaned in January, or B, Pogba signs that new deal. And then when either one of them situation happens, then we know the future of Donny Van De Beek, and then we know the future of Paul Pogba, and then we can assess the team, you can assess the midfield, and then you can say, right, this is where we are, and this is the future of both of them players. I think they both hinge on each other at the moment. I think Ollie's done a great thing and not throwing him under the bus. He's protecting Donny Van De Beek. That's what he's doing at the moment. I think we need to be careful in terms of the way we're talking about it, because again, Donny is a player who is a great footballer, very intelligent, and you rightfully mentioned Lee in terms of where his attributes are. He's getting in around the box, scoring goals, creating chances, keeping it ticking up the higher end of the pitch. But again, when you have two players like Pogba and Bruno, a World Cup winner and a player who's been arguably statistically the best attacking midfield player in the world in the last 18 months, you have a job in your hands getting ahead of the two of them. And not many players do. So I think Donny just has been, as I said, a victim of circumstance in terms of, where he is as a player, what squad role he has. But look, if, God forbid, one of them picked up an injury, then, you have a very adequate replacement in Donny Van De Beek. Or you have a Jesse Lingard. So we've a lot of players in these positions who can play number 8, who can play number 10. And this is what's good. What's great about Man United. Why are we the only club who can't have loads of players fighting for places? But City can have eight options in midfield and no one bats an eyelid, you know? So I think competition for places is good. You've plenty of players in these positions. I think sometimes people might overanalyze it. I think it's as simple as three of us said. There's better players in them positions. You just have to get on with it. It's just simple as that. Obviously tomorrow is another early kickoff, third early kickoff in a row against Newcastle, 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Against Everton. I'm thinking about the Newcastle game was also an early kickoff against Everton tomorrow in the Premier League. One thing I would say is with all these kickoffs where it's early kickoff, 3 o'clock kickoffs, or the Champions League games, do check out our match day content on our YouTube channel and I'll Talk the Devils. Great stadium experiences, great atmosphere in terms of the fans singing songs, great clips from the game, all the goals are there. Do check that out on our YouTube channel. Drop down our channel below. A lot of great match day content there. So do check it out. I dare to say that we'll have a lot of great videos up there for tomorrow's game against Everton. But moving on to tomorrow's game against Everton, obviously early kickoff. Everton have a good few players out. Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, and Seamus Coleman out for him tomorrow as well. So they have a couple of injuries. We've Wan-Bissaka coming in, and Ollie's just said in his press conference today that we more or less have a full squad, barring Dawsey, Maguire, and Shaw. Phil, I come to you in terms of this game. Obviously, last league game, Old Trafford, we were defeated 1-0 by Villa. Very unexpected defeat. We look at this game against Everton. The last couple of years, we've had a very good record against them, home and away. With these big players like Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Andre Gomez, Seamus Coleman out, is this a time where Man United, we do need to put our foot on the gas and really make a statement this week, considering they're missing key players and we more or less have a fully fit squad, bar the exception of 2?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, it's a good time to play Everton at the moment, although they have been picking up results. And I think, obviously, the 2 best players have been probably the 2 new signings in Andros Townsend and Damari Gray. But yeah, obviously, being at home, obviously wanting to, show a positive reaction from the defeat at home against Villa last week with a fully fit squad, barring them 2 we've mentioned. I think, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to, beat Everton. A lot of the players, have got points to prove. I think there's, a big opportunity to get 3 points on the board in the early kickoff and sort of put a bit of pressure then on the other teams in the top 4, which is obviously a good start to the weekend, if you like, if you can get them 3 points on the board. But yeah, again, I think it's going to be a tough game. Everton, they are a good side. They have got quite a few decent players. But over previous years, we've always done quite well against Everton. And obviously in pre-season, we beat them 4-0. So nothing really to fear. I just obviously hope that we can, perform a little bit better than we did against Aston Villa. Because, if we do perform like we did against them, then there's not many teams I think we'd have beat because it was a really poor, lackluster sort of performance against Villa. I think there was everything that I wanted United to be in terms of the energy on the front foot. They won all the second balls. They looked lively. They passed the ball about, whereas we didn't really seem to be able to string 5 or 6 passes together. It looked a little bit sort of, like there was no sort of plan A, plan B. But yeah, I mean, after the result in midweek, I think, the players should be confident now, and obviously you'd want a positive reaction in the Premier League after a defeat at home. So yeah, hoping that we can, pick up the 3 points tomorrow and put on a better performance.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think that Villa defeat, I think Villa are a good team. There's no shame in losing them, but we shouldn't be losing that game at home, having 28 odd shots, 27, 28 shots. We should have been more clinical. And look, it was just a situation with a set piece. We got caught at the end, and there's not much you can do about it. You just have to move on and hopefully perform better. It's going to come to Reese's comment here before this come to Lee on that. He says, I hope we do not take Everton lightly. We have to work hard, be intentional when we attack them, overload them with the press tomorrow, force mistakes into their makeshift defence. Yeah, 100%. I think, like, look, when you look at that, like, obviously Seamus Coleman, the very big miss from obviously their club captain, a good leader, and someone who's always puts out a good performance against us. So from their point of view, I hope he gets back for the international break. But hopefully he doesn't. Yeah, thank God he's not playing against United tomorrow. But I think you look at it, I think we can't take him lightly, but at the same time, we have this attacking talent going into this game. And you look at the way we picked him apart at Old Trafford and the way we dominated him at Goodison last season. With a full Old Trafford, there's no reason why we shouldn't beat him. And it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be getting beat by this team when you consider, yes, Demarai Gray's been good, Townsend's been good, but you look at the players we have, we should be keeping possession of that football. We should be taking our chances and kill that game early. So I think you look at this game, you always have in the back of your mind not to underestimate your opponents. But at the end of the day, you can't be thinking about your opponents too much. Like your Man United, when you have players like Greenwood, Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, you need to take the initiative in these games. And too many times we don't. I think this is a game where you definitely make a statement, because like this is a Rafa Benitez team. This team's going to be well organised, well drilled. Like again, this is a team who's going to sit on the 18-yard line with two banks of four. We need to show that we have the flexibility to break down these teams and sit back, because I think we're too many teams are kind of catching on to us now that if you sit with this two banks of four, they might be able to break us down. I think we need to be more ambitious in our play more forward passes, get Bruno on the ball, get Paul in there, and to get more balls into the box to Cristiano. Because that's one thing, I know he scored 5 goals. He's done quite well. One thing we haven't done is got the ball into the box to him more, because he's a great aerial threat. Like, obviously both of you have played him on the training ground. You've seen how good he is. So I think we need to utilise Ronaldo's strengths, get the ball into the box to him, and like try expose their weaknesses. And let's take the impetus in the game. I think we need to go out there and get them 3 points and make a statement, because like you have Liverpool and Man City playing each other this weekend. What better way to put pressure on them on Sunday by going out and winning this game by a couple of goals? That makes a statement that shows we bounce back. 2 wins on the bounce for Old Trafford, a win before the international break. The morale's good, and then you're coming into that Leicester game, all guns blazing, and you're on a good vein of form. Then all of a sudden we're forgetting about Villa. Then we're forgetting about Villa. We're forgetting about young boys, and then we're in a good position. I think this game tomorrow is so vital in terms of putting us in good stead before the international break, but also for this run that we're going to have, because this is again a season-defining run of 5 or 6 games where we're going to learn a lot about this team. And I think we just need this 3 points this weekend is crucial, because I think if we go into that Leicester game playing catch-up, it could be a very dangerous environment for us. I don't want us to be in that situation. Lee, what's your overall thoughts on the game tactically, in terms of, obviously Jesse Lingard's a player we've all spoke about on this podcast, and like, he's been in a rich vein of form. I seen a stat today that like in all the minutes he's played in all competitions this season, he's contributed either a goal or assist every 40 minutes. Obviously, we're rotating, and we're our front players, apart from Ronaldo, have all been kind of rotated some way, some this season. Would you like to see Jesse play from the start tomorrow?
No. To be honest, no, I wouldn't, because I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a start. I think what he's done when he's come on, he definitely deserves and warrants a start. The problem, I think, well, it's not a problem, but what I think he's going to be very, very dangerous coming off the bench for us, especially if we need that extra when we get to 60, 70 minutes. I think he could do more damage within that time coming off as an impact sub than he was at the start. Like I said, that's not me saying I don't think he deserves the start, because I do think he deserves to be in the starting 11. I just think we might get more use out of him and get more of an impact with him coming off the bench, if I'm being completely honest with that. Going back to, was it Reese's comment, just comment before, about the intensity, I think he's hit the nail on the head there with, I do feel like United have shown glimpses when they do press and when they do use the intensity we know they've all got, they look like a great team, but we don't seem like we can sustain that intensity for 90 minutes. I know it's hard, but we seem to do it in bits and bats, where if we could continue that press and continue that intensity and play with that willingness to want to get forward and want to attack, I think we would blow teams like Everton and New Aston Villa's off the park. I just don't think we do it enough at the moment in time, to be to be getting rid of these teams the way we should be getting rid of. So I'd like to see a bit more of a press tomorrow. I'd like to see a bit more intensity, like the guys said. I think if we do that and we play with the quality we've got, we should have no problem at all getting rid of them. But I've been saying this now for the last couple of weeks when we've been doing score predictions, 3-0, 4-0, 3-2s. And I don't want to jinx it because every time I seem to say this, it's a lot closer than I think. So let's just say play with the intensity, and I will go for a 1 or 2-0 win. That's what I'm going for.
So on the back of that, I'm actually just going to get our score predictions for this game. Now, just before I do that though, Reese agrees. He says, as much as I'd like to see Lingard start, I agree with Lee. Jesse against knackered legs is dangerous. Yeah, look, we've seen every time he's come on, he's stretched teams, he's done quite well. And look, he has a place in his squad this season, 100%. And if he's content with that, he's a great asset to have. Because again, he's versatile. He can play either 10, right, left, or as a false 9. So I think he's definitely a great asset to have. And look, it's great to see he's back in form and enjoying his football again. Because again, he is one of our own, and he's someone who embodies Manchester United and does try his heart out and puts in 100% when he puts on that shirt. So definitely someone I'm glad to see back to kind of full form, full fitness. Phil, going to come to your score prediction for tomorrow. You're getting score predictions right at the start of the season. I've won. Yeah, I haven't. I've got absolutely nothing. I've been predicting 3-4-0, as Lee said, all over the shop. I don't know what I'm going to say yet. But Phil, how are you feeling about tomorrow? How's it going down?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, just in terms of what you've just touched on, both of you there, I think in terms of our attacking options, the players and the individual abilities, far superior to Everton. I just think, in previous games, I think we've been trying to score the perfect goal, like too much sort of, as you just mentioned, with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Cavani, just put the ball in the box. That aerial threat is something that we haven't utilised enough. And with the quality that we've got in terms of Telles and, Bruno, they can put balls in the box for fun. And I think, we don't do that enough. I think it's obviously, something that we need to sort of maybe do a little bit more of and just, see what happens, because at the moment we don't seem to be sort of, creating them clear-cut chances that we maybe was a little bit of a bit of time ago when goals were, against Leeds and stuff, goals were coming in from all angles. But yeah, I still think tomorrow, obviously, we're going to have enough to get the job done. I'm going to say 2-0 victory.
2-0. So we're getting 2-1. We're getting 2-0.
Are you just asking me to go first so you can copy me? Because I've got a few right. So.
Keith's going for a 7-0 win.
No. I'm not gonna go for a big win, but I'll go 1-0. I'll go 1-0 tomorrow, and I'll go a Ronaldo penalty. I'll go Ronaldo to take the penalty reins for Bruno tomorrow. Ronaldo scores the penalty tomorrow.
Do you think he's snatching the ball off Bruno, or do you think because Bruno missed last week, he's just saying like it's my turn?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe it's his turn. Because I remember seeing at the game last week, Pogba went over to Ronaldo and was like, "No, it's Bruno's." So I think, I think
free kick spot as well, aren't they? At the minute, I think that they're probably, because Ronaldo will want to take everything. I think obviously with him missing now, I think he will. I agree. I think Ronaldo will take the next penalty once there's one awarded. But obviously Bruno is one of them kind of players where when something doesn't go right, or if he makes an error, he wants to sort of get redemption, put it right. So yeah, could be an interesting situation to see how that pans out.
I don't think Bruno's just going to hand the ball over. I can't see Bruno just saying, "Do you know what? I've missed one out of God knows how many. There you go. I'm not going to have another penalty." Surely to God, he's going to say, "Do you know what? I have missed one, but I'm going to bang the next 20 in." That's what I'd imagine his attitude to it would be. I can't just see him handing the ball over.
I don't know. I got that feeling when I was sitting in Old Trafford last week when Bruno stepped up to take the penalty. I was always saying in my own podcast and everywhere else, I was like, "Do you know what? I'd love to see a Bruno penalty live because I watched so many of them during the pandemic in an empty stadium. And when Bruno got that penalty in Old Trafford last week to get the equaliser, my girlfriend was standing up, the whole stadium was standing up. I was slumped in my chair. I was like, he's missing.
Yeah.
I'd got that feeling. Like, this is my first Bruno penalty I'm seeing live. He's missing. And he skied it. I was absolutely heartbroken. Heartbroken.
It was quite weird because he's never really took a penalty like that before. He's usually cool and composed, and he does his little shuffle and slots it away. I heard someone mention it, but I think because obviously you've got someone like Cristiano Ronaldo who's breathing down your neck to want to take all these free kicks and penalties as well, that puts a bit of added pressure on it himself, because you've not also got the pressure of scoring the penalty, but you've also got somebody now who's going to want to take that sort of honour of taking the penalties off you. And I think that does sort of give you that added bit of pressure, which, I'm not saying Bruno's not capable of dealing with that, because he's obviously scored loads of penalties and he's a top class player. But I think, that maybe had a little part to play in that, penalty miss.
It didn't look his composed self, did he, when he stepped up and he was taking the penalty? You could see before he was going to strike the ball, it didn't look as composed as he normally looks. But like I said with Bruno, these last couple of games, well, the last season or since he's been here, when I watch him in that midfield, he gives the ball away a hell of a lot, and he gets criticised for it. But the times he don't give the ball away, he's creating a goal, or he's making a telling pass. If he was the type of guy who was just going to say, I'll play it safe, and I'd imagine that he would have adapted his game to play a safer game and not keep hitting these, 40-foot passes, or these passes what are quite easily to get cut out. But if they don't get cut out, he puts someone through and they score a fantastic goal. So I think that's the kind of attitude Bruno's got. I think he's going to want to prove a point that, you know what I mean? Yeah, I've missed one, but I'm the main man to take the penalty. So like I say, it's going to be very interesting, in my opinion, to see who actually gets on the next one.
Definitely, 100%. And you know what? I'd say people will be taking bets in Old Trafford tomorrow. Who takes the penalty the minute it happens? If we do get a penalty, which we should have had a lot of them this season, but people might think I'm moaning if I go on about it. So I'll leave that at that. But we do have our score predictions in there today, guys. So do come back to this and drop a comment on the video tomorrow when the game is over, and let us know if we're right or wrong in terms of our score prediction. And as always, well, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel tomorrow with our match day content there. And we do have live videos from the stadium there tomorrow as well. So do check that out on our YouTube channel. Drop below there and hit that subscribe button and drop the bell notification every time we have a podcast. When we go live for any other video, you will get notifications straight away. And look, we will be back next Friday again at 7 o'clock and to talk all things Manchester United. We will do a review on the game. I know it'll be the international break. Not many people like the international break. I'm Irish, so you can imagine my feelings on the international break is every time it comes around, it's an absolute chore. But look, we'll be back next Friday to talk all things Manchester United. We'll review the game, and we'll be talking all the main topics about the football club. Thanks very much everyone for watching. And again, thanks very much for your support on Talking Devils podcast. And also do check our website at www.talkdevils.co.uk. And we'll be back next week with the latest edition of the podcast. Until then, thanks very much, guys.